Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special edition of Mindset Monday. We are coming to you live on Facebook from our downtown San Diego office at the National Conflict Resolution Center, and we are so glad you're joining us. Thank you for being here. This is our first live show for Mindset Monday, and we want to do a few of these throughout the year. So stay tuned. We will let you know as they come up. Keep in mind that we would love to know if you're watching. So in the comments below, let us know if you're here. Let us know if you're watching and where you're watching from. I know we have a lot of San Diego viewers, but I know we have a lot of dedicated viewers around the country. And so we would love to know where you're watching us from. And also, we want you to chat with us today. So if you have any questions about conflict resolution or mediation or communication skills, now is your time. Make sure that you type them in. We would love to see what those are and chat with you and answer your questions today. And just want to kind of make a quick note about that. This is the boring stuff. Sorry, I have to do it. Just because we answer your question that you write in, I have to say I am not your mediator. You have not hired me as your mediator. So that's kind of the legal end of this. I just want to make sure you know that. I may give you some advice or my views on something, but it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't mean at all that I'm acting as your mediator. So, okay, I got that out of the way, but I had to let you know that. So one of the things that we're asked all the time is, the National Conflict Resolution Center. What is the National Conflict Resolution Center? That sounds so broad. And honestly, it sounds so broad because it is really broad. We handle conflicts at all levels of society. So we work really in two ways at NCRC. One way is on the service side of what we do. So we do services like mediation or facilitations, hosting dialogues and community building circles. So that's really actively engaging with people in the community in a service. The other branch of what we do is in training. We train people all around the world in conflict resolution skills and in mediation skills. So if you're out there and you're thinking, I've always kind of been interested in mediation, that might be something I'd want to do as a career at some point or just to boost my resume, we can train you and credential you in that process. We also do training with phenomenal other organizations around the country. We work with great community groups. We work with foster-aged youth, refugee communities, veterans, homeless. We also train high-level corporate institutions that have us come in to train managers and supervisors. And we also work with a lot of government institutions where we go in and train sometimes even their entire staff or all of their managers and supervisors in a certain conflict management strategy. So anyway, that's just like a very condensed version of what NCRC does, but we do get questions about that a lot. It's really broad. We do many things here, but they're all focused around this idea of building a more civil society where we can engage and talk with one another effectively and with kindness and respect. So that's what NCRC is. I'm gonna check in here. Stephanie, do we have a question?
We sure do. We have one from Steven.
Okay.
He says he has a question about the mediation process. He's heard of it, but he's not really familiar with how it works. Could you explain it?
Okay, good question. So we have a question from Stephen saying he's heard about mediation, but what exactly is that? Great question. So mediation is a process, and you've probably heard of it before. In fact, if you have signed a contract of any kind in the last 10 years, you've probably signed a clause that says if there's any issues with this contract prior to going to court, you may need to go to either mediation or something called arbitration before going to court. And the reason for that is that the court system really wants to see people try to resolve issues outside of the very bogged down judicial court system right now. And so they encourage people to go through these processes like mediation that are known as alternative dispute resolution. Okay, so what mediation is when a neutral third party mediator comes into a situation where there's a conflict and meets with both parties. One thing that's kind of interesting about a mediator is that they do not direct the parties to a solution. That's something that's misunderstood a lot of the time. Mediators are not there to tell the parties what they have to do. They don't make a judgment or a ruling at the end of a mediation session. Mediators are really there to bring people together and help guide their conversation so that the parties who are in conflict can possibly come up with a solution themselves. So, what's great about mediation, the reason that we are such big believers in it, is it's all about empowering people who are in conflict and who have maybe hit a point in the conflict where they don't know how to move forward. The mediator's there to direct them through the process and guide them to a path forward, but gives them the control of saying whether or not they agree with that solution, gives them the control of coming up with ideas for the solution. And that's really nice and really, really different than going through, say, the legal process or going through the court system. Because once you get in front of that judge, you present your case, and then whatever the ruling is, it's done. You kind of have to accept that. In a mediation, you have an opportunity to be a part of the solution, not have the solution told to you. So a lot of people opt for mediation prior to going to court because they like that idea of being part of the solution, kind of having that control, having that power, and being able to do that. So we highly recommend mediation. We definitely see a lot of folks come through who, even some folks who come in and say, there's no way the other party and I are going to come to a solution. It's not going to happen. And then to their surprise, and it's really a wonderful thing to see, they do come up with something. We even say, even if you don't come up with a solution in the mediation, a full-fledged agreement, usually people make enough progress that at least the rest of the time that you're going through your dispute, you've at least made a lot of steps forward and you're much closer to resolution than you were if you hadn't come into mediation. So that's just one thing to keep in mind if you're ever considering it. Also, call us. If you're ever considering mediation or you have questions about it, we have case managers that this is all they do, and they can talk you through your case, maybe what you know from the other side, recommend the right kind of mediator for you, and really walk you through the process so that you have a good understanding of it. So it's a great option. I highly recommend it. That also brings me to another thought and topic I wanted to mention. If you are local in San Diego, we have a wonderful new column in partnership with the Union Tribune. Every single Sunday, if you can see it, we are doing a fabulous column called Mediate This. And our president of our organization, Steve Dinkin, is writing back to people who write into the Union Tribune with questions about conflicts that they're in. And there's a number of ways that you can submit a question to Mediate This. They're all anonymous. So if you have a conflict or situation, you definitely, don't want people to know who you are. Don't worry, they're kept confidential. It's anonymous. But your question could be published and we could write you an answer, kind of like a advice column, I guess you could call it. And so it's great. We've been running now for, I think, 5 or 6 weeks in the B section of the Sunday paper. And even if you don't have a question that you want to write in or your own conflict, it's worth picking it up and reading, just because there's probably something someone else has written in that you may have some experience with, or you may have had some questions about at one point. And it's great to read what the answers are. They're really, really helpful. Also wanted to let you know that I'm really looking forward to the next 4 weeks of Mindset Mondays. We have a really special series coming up. You have probably heard about our Peacemaker Awards. We're posting about it all the time. And we're really excited about this evening where we get to honor just phenomenal individuals who are contributing to peacemaking efforts all around the country, around the world. 4 of our Peacemaker awardees, our 4 local awardees, are going to be, they're filming Mindset Mondays for us over the next 4 weeks. So you're actually not going to hear from me over the next 4 weeks. You're going to hear directly from them as we lead into Peacemaker, and they are going to share with you their tips in conflict resolution, communication, as we lead up to that event, which is on April 7th, Peacemaker, April 7th. Make sure you're there. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, they are available on our website. It's going to be a phenomenal evening. We're expecting over 600 people, probably going to sell out. So you still have time. You've got about a month, but you definitely want to be there. We're going to be at the Marriott Marquis and Marina downtown here. So with that, I am going to sign off on this first Facebook Live. It has been a blast interacting with you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will definitely be back soon with another one. And in the meantime, keep your mindset right and keep tuning in on Mondays. Thanks, everyone.